good news. My motivation for everything has returned miraculously, and I wanna tell you how I got mine back, and how you can get your motivation back or get it in the first place if you've never had it before. And it relates a lot to that video I made about how to become more confident. I'll link it up here. It's a video of mine that popped off actually. It was like 1.6 thousand views or something it's on just now, and got over 100 likes on it as well. So I was quite happy with how that video went. But just relating to that video in terms of the point I made on self-efficacy. So if you didn't watch that video, self-efficacy is basically the reputation that you have with yourself. So when you constantly are doing good things and being productive all the time, you're doing the good habits and you're just living a great life, then you build up this good reputation with yourself, and it makes you more confident, and it makes you more prepared to perform in whatever aspect of your life you're currently trying to perform, whatever your purpose is. And the reason that relates to me getting my motivation back is because you get a lot of these people like David Goggins and stuff who talk about like discipline. Now, I've spoken in a previous video about discipline. I can't remember which one it was, but in terms of, you need to have a higher purpose instead of motivation and discipline. Motivation and discipline are great, but your purpose drives all of that. When you're focused on your purpose, it doesn't matter if you're motivated or if you're disciplined, you're going to do it anyway. And that's the whole principle. Is throughout the time where I was struggling to get my motivation, I just said, right, I'm just going to start doing these good habits again. My meditation in the morning, my reading of the Daily Stoic in the morning, and getting good sleep. That's kind of the three things that I focused on, as well as getting my diet back together and eating better foods. So once I started doing that, I've been doing it again now for probably 3 weeks, I want to say. And now like my head's so much clearer because I've been doing all this meditation and getting those habits that I was used to, which made me motivated all the time, has brought everything back, brought all that energy back. Not just because the habits themselves, like sleeping more and eating better, they're naturally going to bring more energy back, but the fact that I just done these things because I knew they were good for me, and I knew that they always worked for me in the past, and that's brought back the self-belief that I can achieve what I want to achieve. And that is like the ultimate point for this video, is once you get that self-belief back from doing the good habits, you almost prove to yourself that you can improve, if that makes sense. So that is the essence of self-efficacy, is that reputation of yourself, proving to yourself that you can do good habits and get the benefits out of them, proves to yourself that you can work towards things and get better. And that's where the motivation comes from. You see all these things changing for the better in your life because of the good habits that you're doing constantly, and it makes you want to get better. Like my motivation for the rugby's come back. I think tomorrow will be the third game in a row that I miss in 4 weeks because we had a week off, but now I'm starting to want it again. I think I've spoken one of my last videos about how I was told I couldn't play one weekend, and I felt nothing about it. I didn't have that same like anger to get back onto the pitch. Even when I was playing and stuff, I didn't have that same, I want to prove that I'm the best player here. It wasn't such an easy emotion to grasp. And it's not, you shouldn't be relying on emotions. It's just that deep purpose that I have inside my character of wanting to win and be the best. And I've started watching The Last Dance for the umpteenth time. I don't know how many times I've rinsed that series on Netflix with the Chicago Bulls, but just that getting down and putting my head down and start working again, that's what I want to do. That's what I've started doing. In fact, over the last week I've started getting back into that mindset of, right, what I want to do is possible, and I got that belief from doing all these good habits and getting that stuff back together properly. But now I can start using that to form my purpose. And there's probably a question that you might raise is, how do you just stop doing the bad habits? It's obviously very difficult. And you've heard of like progressive overload in the gym, where you do slightly more every time you go in and build up progressively very small increments. But it's the same thing getting rid of bad habits, progressively deloading that. So slowly cutting them out. So say you're, for example, you're masturbating to porn every single day. Start doing it 6 days a week, and then 5 days a week, then 4, and then so down until to the point where you're doing it 4 times a month, to the point where you're doing it twice a month, to the point you're doing it never. And that's basically how you get rid of the bad habits. But to make that easier, I've got a little hack for you, and that is meditation. Like, I spoke in the last video about meditation, about you get that feeling of limitless, where you feel like you can do anything, everything becomes so clear. But I feel like another benefit of doing the meditation is obviously you get that clear mind, and you can think more consciously about the decisions that you make. And that's one thing that I've noticed when I was doing really well a few months back, in terms of my confidence and my motivation and my drive for life. Once I've got that clear mind, whenever I've got the temptation or a decision to make, do I go out drinking or do I stay in? Do I message this girl or do I not? Do I masturbate? Do I not? The decisions almost become a lot more clear. Like, you're not driven on your emotion and your feeling that you get from the temptation. You look at it more from a third person kind of view and see, okay, which is for my purpose and which is just going to be a waste of time. And that's how you kind of, once you're meditating regularly, you can more clearly see in the moment. But before you actually do that action, you actually have the time and the clarity of mind to make a decision on what you're going to do. Listen, sometimes I still make the decision to do the bad thing because it's easier and there's less resistance for it. But at least now, more times than I was, I'm choosing the good habit, because I've got the more energy, because I've been eating better and I've been sleeping better. And it all comes together quite nicely like that. And as time passes, I've experienced before that it gets to a point where the bad habits look like such a waste of time that it's not even worth considering. And when the temptation arises for it, it's so easy to switch into doing the good habit, because you're so used to doing the good habits at that point. But it all builds up over time, and I would say it takes maybe a month or maybe 2 weeks of consistent meditation, at least 6 times a week, 10 minutes a day is what I've been doing, to get that clarity of mind started. And it might take longer for yourself. I've meditated before, and I've been meditating on and off for probably like a year and a half now. But that power that you get, you actually feel like you're in control of your decisions. You're not just swayed by your emotions all the time, and that's poisonous. You can't drive towards your purpose still being swayed by this emotion and that emotion. You have to control your emotions. And when people say that, you're like, how the fuck do I do that? Meditation is how you do that. That is the number one way for me that I've used to control my emotions, to control urges for certain things. When I went through the period of doing, I think it was 7 weeks or something like that, 50 days of no wanking, no porn or anything like that, I was meditating the whole time, every single day. I think I missed maybe 3 days of meditation in those 50. And it was just so easy to make that mindful decision. Like, even I'm sitting there, like, it's a bit vulgar, but I was sitting there hard as fuck, really horny, with nothing to do. Now, if I had a weak mind because I've not been meditating, I'm not present, I'm not consciously thinking about things properly, I would have just wanked. I would have just busted a nut and then moved on with my day. But because I'd had that mindfulness and that clarity of mind, it was so easy for me to make that decision of, okay, no, I'm not doing that today. I'm not doing it, because it's a waste of time for me. And I want the benefits of abstaining more than I want the short-term pleasure. But that clarity of mind would have never came if I hadn't been meditating. And that's, in essence, what helped me make the decision. Meditate, get a clear mind, and you can get rid of the bad habits. And to circle back to that point, the video is obviously about getting my motivation back and how to get yours. Once you become motivated because you're seeing the progress that you're making in life, and you can see the potential, the progress that you can still make, and that all starts with cutting out bad habits, doing more of the good habits, and then you build that self-efficacy, that great reputation with yourself where you're doing the good habits, and that self-efficacy not only makes you more confident, it also makes you more motivated. Because confidence and motivation is kind of a similar feeling. You feel confident to do a task, so you're motivated to do that task. When you feel confident in your abilities to do something, you're much more likely to be motivated to do that thing. And that's where it all stems back to meditation in this case, to gain that clarity of mind, to make the decisions about abstaining from the bad habits, to choose the good habits, and then it all builds nicely from there. That's the end of this video. I'll see you guys in the next one.